This review is going to focus on the midpoint formula. Essentially, the midpoint formula, you're finding the exact middle of two numbers, or you're finding the exact middle between 2 points. Essentially, you're just adding the two parts together and dividing by 2. So the first problem that we're going to look at says, what fraction lies exactly halfway between 2/3 and 3/4? So again, as soon as you see that word halfway, you're doing a midpoint, and which means that you're going to add your two numbers, so in this case 2/3 plus 3/4, and we're going to divide that number by 2. And students can just type this in their calculator. So if we do 2/3 plus 3/4 and divide that number by 2, we get 17/24. So that means that our answer in this case is E. Moving on to our second question. This one says, the standard XY coordinate plane, what is the midpoint of the line segment that has endpoints at 3, 8 and 1, -4? So when you're dealing with a point, you're adding the two parts and dividing by 2. And what I mean by the two parts is you're adding these two x values. So 3 plus 1 divided by 2. That's going to give us our first number. And then we have to add this y value right here. So we get 8 plus -4 divided by 2. And that will give us the y value of our new point. So if we do 3 plus 1 divided by 2, we get 2. And if we do 8 plus -4 divided by 2, we actually also get 2. So our answer, this number goes first, that number goes second. So our answer is at 2, 2, which in this case is J. Moving on to question 3. On a standard XY coordinate plane, Susan lives at -4, 2, and Jamar lives at 2, -5. If they meet halfway between their houses, at which of the following coordinates should they meet? Again, as soon as you see that halfway in between, it looks like you're finding a midpoint. So between our two numbers, we're going to add our two x's and divide by 2. So -4 plus 2 divided by 2. And in this case, that's going to give us -1. So in our final answer, we're going to definitely have a -1 as our first number. Now we got to add the two y values together. So I'm going to use a different color. So we're going to add this y value and that y value together. So I get 2 plus -5 divided by 2, which is going to give me, in this case, -3/2. So that's my second number, so -3/2. So that means my answer in this case is E. Moving on to our next question. The two endpoints of the diameter of a circle are located at A, 3, 6, and B, -1, 9 on a standard coordinate plane. At which of the following coordinates is the circle's center located? So again, the center is going to be your middle. So we're looking at a circle, and we're looking at the diameter, which cuts across. It says that one of our endpoints, A, is located at 3, 6. The other one is located at -1, -1, 9. We want to figure out exactly what's in the middle, which means, again, we're going to be doing a midpoint. So we're going to add the two x values, so -1 plus 3 divided by 2. So if I do -1 plus 3 divided by 2, I get 1. So that is my x value of my answer. And then I add my y values. So I'm going to add 9 plus 6 and divide by 2, which in this case gives us 15/2. And that's our second number in this case. So in this one, our answer is F. Moving on to our last question. It says 610 is halfway between C, 2C minus 5, and 3C, C plus 16. What is the value of C? Hint, set up your equations and plug in your answer choices until you get your results. Alright, so again, if we're doing a halfway between, you're doing a midpoint, and you actually know what the answer is supposed to be. You try to figure out what your C is. So we're going to add these two x values together. So C plus 3C divided by 2, we know is going to have to equal this 6 right here. Okay. Now, we also know that if we add the y values, so in this case 2C minus 5 plus the C plus 16 divided by 2, we know is going to have to equal the 10, or this number over here. Alright, so definitely our first equation is a little easier. So what we can do is we can test out each one of these values in A, B, C, D, and E and figure out which one is going to give me a 6, because that's going to be the easier of the two. So if I test out A, I'm going to be plugging in negative 2 every place I see a C. So it becomes negative 2 plus 3 times negative 2 divided by 2, and I want to see if that equals 6. Well, when I type it in this case I get negative 4, which is definitely not 6, so we know it's not A. So then we try B. This time we're going to plug in 0 every place we see a C. So 0 plus 3 times 0 divided by 2 is going to give me 0. Well, that's definitely, again, not 6, which is what we're looking for, so it's definitely not B. So then we try C. I'm going to plug in a 3 every place I see a C. So it becomes 3 plus 3 times 3 divided by 2, which in this case does give me a 6. So more than likely it's probably C, but we also want to check our last number, just make sure. So in the second one, if I plug in a 3 every place I see a C, I want to see if I can get a 10. So 2 times 3 minus 5 plus 3 plus 16 divided by 2, and I want to see if that's equal to 10. And in fact, this one does equal to 10, so in this case we know that it's going to be C.